I mean, Omicron आया और गया. It didn't visit us. I got Omicron. We hung out for a few days and then he left. Thankfully, I wish I was this person sometimes. Who could just like say whatever the hell he wanted to say and not think about it. And sometimes I tend to send really confusing signals to people. Like a lot of times something that I'm absolutely hating, but I keep smiling and behaving like I'm loving it. I remember the first week of college and I had made some friends and, I was wanting to hang with them. And then they were like, okay, so after college, in the evening, we'll go to that bakery and we'll have that roll. And then in the night, we'll go and then we'll go on our motorcycles and by this seaside and we'll have that bhel. And after a point, I was like, and then what will you do? And they were like, no, bro, I mean, this is what we'll do.
Yeah.
I was like, how can you just do this with your entire day? Working with Sri Devi, and she was the one thing that I learned about, the biggest lesson I learned is that you don't have to behave like a star to be a star. बहुत बढ़िया film थी. Yes. And I remember everybody was racing their cycles after the film. For some reason, everybody thought, like, even though they didn't have to win a race, but like I was doing that. Pooja Bedi, who had just like, she was so stunning in the film.
बेटा अगर तुझे cheating करनी है तो cheat कर लेना, but pass हो गया. Like her main, this thing was to just like get me passed out. Yeah.
I bumped into Sonam Wangchuk, the guy on whom Phuntsuk Wangchuk was based. It was so weird because I was at one of these college events where I had to go and give a talk of sorts. And then I saw the lineup and the next person to speak after me was Sonam Wangchuk. And I was like, I mean, if this guy's going to speak after me, I'm going to sound like an idiot. Because I sucked at studies all my life. And the reason I quit studies after 12th was it just didn't make sense to me.
And Dil Chahta Hai? उसमें तो अलग है.
It's such a slick film. But kuch made a couple of things very popular in college. First was the chain.
The chain, yes.
Everybody was wearing it. Everybody had suddenly started wearing tight t-shirts, although they didn't have the body to carry it.
Hello Sumeet and hello Ahsaas for the Zoom interaction, because in Sumeet's word, ये work from home वाली जो virtual life है ना, वही best. Sumeet, you're thoroughly enjoying this work from home वाली life.
Yeah, I love it. I wish I could just like operate just around my bed only.
Around the bed and also the couch that you've been talking about in your
Yeah. It's the best.
It's the best. Matlab, first lockdown, I think we were in splits after watching the viral video where you were doing all the ghar ka kaam. And I think most men took all the ghar ka kaam very seriously because Sumeet Vyas was doing it and putting across a very real picture. But now that we have domestic help, na?
Now we have, yeah. Now it's better.
So life is like all sorted.
Yeah.
But Omicron की वजह से आप लोगों की life में कुछ दिक्कतें आई हैं? Has it sort of, turned topsy-turvy for you guys?
I mean, Omicron आया और गया. It's not like it didn't pay respect, or it didn't visit us. I got Omicron. We hung out for a few days and then he left, thankfully.
I was speaking to a lot of my colleagues and they said कि सुमीत की जो वो है ना कि मतलब you should not call people to office. I think each time that there's a circular saying that people should come back to office, that's when we get the next wave. We're just hit by the wave. So I think your viral videos, your rants are like really popular with all your fans, much like series Jugaadistan. मतलब क्या trailer है. I really love the two of you. I think you are bringing in this really not really unseen, but not really an aspect of college life that most of the projects till now haven't really delved deeper into. And I think the treatment of college life is very, very different.
इसमें हर character इसमें कोई ना कोई जुगाड़ कर रहा है अपने हिसाब से. Like my character Aisha, she's looking for a story because she's a journalism student and she really needs a story. She wants to work with somebody who has who has asked her to like come up with a story, so she's looking everywhere. तो उसमें वो जुगाड़ कर रही है अपने हिसाब से और बाकी के characters भी वही कर रहे हैं. So I think it's a very, very interesting show.
But Sumeet, what an interesting character. I mean, you look intense. I mean, you've done that before in one of the previous web series. We were like really wowed by your performance. But here again, you are bringing in an aspect that a lot of people are not familiar with.
Yes, yes, and I'm thoroughly grateful to Akash for thinking of me for this part, and also because we've known each other for so long, and we love each other, and we sort of take each other for granted as and when is needed. So even if he had called me to be, a tree in his show, I would have. But then, thankfully, to be very honest, I didn't ask him what the part was.
Okay.
He said, "Baba, we're doing this show, and you have to act in it." And I said, "Yeah, we'll act." And then I think on the day of the look test, he's like, "You know what your part is, right?" So, I kind of have an idea. It's supposed to be kind of intense. Like, yeah, you're playing a Haryanvi guy in college. I'm like, what? Oh, so then I'd probably have to work on my accent and everything. He said, yeah, yeah. So, okay, then I'd start my work on that then. So, so it was kind of that, and yeah, he's so generous as a director. He lets you explore so many things. I think the one thing that I use well is that I don't like showing what I'm feeling most of the times, or maybe I'm not very good at in life. Sort of communicating what's going on or what I'm feeling. And sometimes I tend to send really confusing signals to people, like a lot of times something that I'm absolutely hating, but I keep smiling and, behaving like I'm loving it. And then they go out thinking that I've loved the idea, and I come back and I tell my manager that I don't like this idea and I don't think you should do it. And he's like, but they think you're on. I'm like, no, bro. So yeah. And I thought, let me use this aspect in this character, which sort of fits in a weird way, where when you look at him, you can't really see how intense he can get.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I observed in a lot of people around me who had a certain amount of power to do things, you can never tell when you meet them. They're very poker face. They're very calm, and the way they will talk to you, they'll be very nice to you, and yeah, these guys, this is a good guy, but they are capable of doing, some serious damage to you. So I thought, let's use that aspect, because this guy was, kind of to his pals, he was a little rude, and that's something that doesn't come very naturally to me, to just be this, bully who just hold someone and just say something brash. And in fact, I'm the opposite that way. So, and then I have to really tune my brain into this, no, dude, this is not you, this is some other guy. So, and then I would go and I talk to my co-actors also. Sorry, I'm just gonna be a little whatever. So, don't take it to heart or whatever. But then in the scene,
you would be
I wish I was this person sometimes, who could just say whatever the hell he wanted to say and not think about it.
And Sumit, again, we'll take the Chitwan aspect. मतलब आप अपने college में भी चितवन की तरह cool थे? Who would do all sorts of things, just to look cool, sound cool, be cool. What was your college life like?
No, yaar, actually not. Chitwan is also an aspirational thing for me, that I wish I could be this person, this free soul. But coming back to your question, my college life wasn't that eventful, because I'd sort of quit studies in the middle, and then I was working in a theatre company, and then I joined college back. So because there was a couple of years that I'd taken off from studies, and then I joined back, I had some perspective. I was also slightly older to my other classmates, also working and studying. So you at that age, you're also okay, yeah, these guys are kids and they don't know what they're doing, but I go out and I work, and you're smarter than you should be. But yeah, I didn't have a very eventful college life. I had a lot of intercollegiate theatre that we did, because I was sort of heading that department. But besides that, it wasn't, because I would just finish college and then go back to rehearsal and then whatever, do my work.
College life, is that not a phase that you really missed out on? College life is supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah. I remember the first week of college, and I had made some friends, and I was wanting to hang with them. And then they were like, okay, so after college, in the evening, we'll go to that bakery and we'll have that roll. and then in the night we'll go, and then we'll go on our motorcycles and by this seaside, and we'll have that bhel. And after a point I was like, and then what will you do? And they were like, no bro, I mean, this is what we'll do. I said, how can you just do this with your entire day? And they were like, what do you want to do then? I was like, I mean, don't you want to like work or like do something? It's like, we'll work. And that time I felt like, oh, these guys are fools or whatever. But later on in life, I was like, I should have done that. I should have done nothing for a while.
Exactly.
For the rest of your life, you'll probably
You're going to be working. You're going to be working all your life. I think that's one phase that you really missed out on. We've culled out some of the very important films and projects, that sort of, delves deeper into the student life. And maybe, one aspect that remains special to you. So let's begin. The first is English Winglish. I think that's one film. In fact, the film completes 10 years in 2022 in October.
Yes.
It's a very important film for you.
It was.
Yeah.
Because I think the first proper role in a feature film that I had, as proper as it can get. And it was with a bunch of people who I am still friends with after all these years.
Who are you friends with?
I'm friends with all of them. I'm friends with Gauri Shinde. I'm friends with Mehdi Nebu, my French co-actor. Rajiv Ravindran, he's based in Bangalore. So I'm kind of in touch with most of them. In fact, I'm in Panchgani right now shooting for something, and they're staying at the hotel close by, so we bumped into each other.
Oh, how cool, yeah.
And it was a great film, and it was such a endearing experience to be part of that film on every level. Working with Sri Devi, and she was so. The one thing that I learned about, the biggest lesson I learned is that you don't have to behave like a star to be a star. If you didn't know how big a star she was, you probably don't even know that she's around, because she'd be sitting in one corner doing her thing, and there's no fuss, whatever, and then she comes in front of the camera and boom, like she's a superstar. She eats up the entire frame. You don't want to take your eyes off her. And I'm like, this is how I want to be. I don't want to be the guy who that walks into the room with a jacket and with glasses, and he's throwing his weight around and creating a scene before the scene is even started. I'd rather be a little invisible before the camera rolls.
So we're literally a student in that film.
I really was.
I actually auditioned for that part. I mean, for Sri Devi's daughter's part, and I was really looking forward to it. But it didn't work out. Yeah, I really wish it could. Because the story in itself was so unique, and even the daughter's part was quite important.
It was very important.
The reason that she starts, learning English, but it was really wonderful. I think it's definitely one of my favorite films. And the last, her monologue was so beautiful about judgment, and it was just what a beautiful film. I just love that. It teaches a lot. I mean, you don't just the basic fact that you don't need to know a certain language to fit in or be smart enough. I think that in general. And then again, Sumeet was so wonderful in that film. I was just so happy to see him in that film. So yeah, everything was just amazing about it.
And Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar. I think each one of us has loved that film.
Yeah,
yes,
I haven't watched that film, so I wouldn't be.
You haven't watched?
Like that a lot.
Okay, maybe we should watch tonight. But Sumeet, Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar कैसी थी? मतलब स्कूल की मूवी, इंटर स्कूल rivalries, competitions.
बहुत बढ़िया फिल्म थी. Yes, and I remember everybody was racing the cycles after the film. For some reason, everybody thought, even though they didn't have to win a race, but I was doing that. It's I'm gonna just and it was like a quintessential underdog story, the kind of story that all of us see ourselves in, and so beautifully crafted.
Yeah.
Pooja Bedi, who had just she was so stunning in the film. And we were all like, man, who is she, and where did she come from?
You ever
and also that whole...
Yeah. Was there ever a girl like Pooja Bedi in your school?
We had some very good looking girls in my school and my college, my 11th, 12th. But yeah, I mean, we were not even in the radius of that girl, because we were not. But the biggest draw of that film was the whole rich kid, poor kid complex. that most of kids, of my generation at least, most kids had this complex that, my father is not that well off and we don't have that kind of money. And then there is, these kids who come from very well off families, and they come in cars, and they're more privileged and they get to be with good looking girls, and we are sort of poor and we eat at the local canteen. And so that's why, that was one big reason why that film worked so well, because there were more people relating to the hero.
अब Three Idiots के बारे में, the life कैसी लगी? Could you relate to it? What was the biggest draw for both of you?
आप बताएं पहले एहसास.
I couldn't really relate to the whole pressure that because for me, like from the beginning I had no pressure to like study and get good marks. Like I had always in my mind I had to become an actor. My mom was also never, she was like, beta just pass hoke aana. In fact, she would tell me ki beta agar tujhe cheating karni hai to cheat kar lena, but pass hoke aana. Like her main this thing was to just like get me passed out. So I couldn't relate to that, but I think again it's one of my favorite films.
But Three Idiots, I bumped into Sonam Wangchuk, the guy on whom Phuntsuk Wangchuk was based. I was so weird because I was at one of these college events where I had to go and give a talk of sorts. And then I saw the lineup, and the next person to speak after me was Sonam Wangchuk. And I was like, if this guy's going to speak after me, I'm going to sound like an idiot. Because, what am I going to talk about? He's like changed people's lives.
Yeah.
And I've just made a few people laugh. So I, whatever, said a little bit. And then I was just listening to him. And he's like, one thing that they did in Ladakh is they opened a school for kids who were not doing well in studies. So the criteria to take admissions in that school was anyone who couldn't pass or was just barely managing 35-40% and really struggling with studies, they were given admission. And kids who were doing well at studies were not given admission. And I was like, where were you all this while? Because I sucked at studies all my life. And the reason I quit studies after 12th was it just didn't make sense to me. Because after my 10th, I was told that if you don't take science, you'll never get a job. So you have to take science. So somehow I took science in some college in Kandivali. And of course, I didn't understand what was happening in the class. I felt like these guys are talking in gibberish because it was just not my work, my interest. And then I failed. Then somebody said, why don't you do private 12th and then take commerce, because commerce is kind of easy.
Yeah.
And you might still find a job. So then I took commerce in 12th and failed again. And then I just told my parents that, listen, guys, this is not happening for me. I whatever. The only thing left is arts. So, and funnily enough, after 2 years, I just felt like completing my education. So I went back to National College and enrolled myself. I was like, this is my mark sheet. Yeah. What can I get? They said, you can get admission in arts. And I joined arts. And suddenly, everything made sense to me. There was history, there was psychology, there was literature. And I was like, yeah, I understand what you guys are saying. You're speaking my language. I want to know what happened in history. I want to know how human psychology works. I'm interested in literature. Why didn't somebody tell me to take arts on this? Why?
Yeah. Because it's always looked down upon, no? Just
no. And I was like, and then I never feel. I had no pressure. And I could just go and study because I wanted to know more. It was as simple as that. I wish kids were counseled like this. Go and choose a subject that speaks your language. It doesn't matter if you do well or badly, but at least you learn something new. You can't prove a point all the time. It's so tiring.
And Dil Chahta Hai? Usme to alag hai.
It's such a slick film. And I guess, Dil Chahta Hai sort of changed the visual language of filmmaking for us. Because I didn't think we treated humor like that. Our humor in films was always dialogue based. It was never situation based. It was a little, always a notch higher. It was never timing based. It was never and Dil Chahta Hai introduced that. Introduced production design. Nobody had done production design before. It was just, something that sort of came along. But Dil Chahta Hai was the only film where they had a production designer who designed the whole film. In which it included costumes and whatever, all kinds of things. So I did a lot of research after that.
Wow.
Once I wanted to, become a filmmaker and writer and all of that. It's like, how did they do it at that time? And Dil Chahta Hai was also a sing sound film. Most of the films at that time were dubbed.
Yeah.
So it was so refreshing to hear the actor's voice in the moment.
Yes.
And it made such a difference. I can speak something like this, and then if I go and dub the same thing, it won't be the same.
And my last is Student of the Year and Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. I mean, they were like some stories that got mixed reactions. As students, could you relate to it? I'm sure you weren't student, Sumeet. By that time, you were already working.
I haven't watched Student of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't relate to any of that because Student of the Year was set in a whole different universe. Kuch Hota Hai, like, I couldn't really, it was definitely very entertaining, but like, again, I did not have a love triangle going on. Or I was not like the tomboy of school or college, or I was too hot to like, like boys all going crazy about me. So, but I love both the films. I think both of them are very entertaining in their own way. But yeah, I just couldn't relate because very different universe from mine.
And Sumeet, are you like little upset because you could never give out any friendship bands like Shah Rukh was giving out to every girl?
Yeah, but Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, made a couple of things very popular in college. First
Yes.
was the chain.
The chain, yes.
Everybody was wearing it. Everybody had suddenly started wearing tight t-shirts, although they didn't have the body to carry it. Most girls got that haircut that Kajol had.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then most of it also, I remember, sort of made being friends with boys and girls, was not as positively looked upon. But it sort of started happening. Like, people started thinking it's probably cool to be best friends and not have any sexual tension. And just be friends. That aspect sort of, was considered cool suddenly. And I was like, although I do feel that there was still some sexual tension in most best friends, but anyway, that's my perception.
Thank you so much. I mean, this was like one of the best conversations because we could revisit so many films and talk about, the impact that it left on both of you. And thank you for your time and all the very best for Jugaadistaan. मतलब ये बहुत ही
Thank you.
interesting web series
Thank you
होने
so
वाली है,
much.
and it will find a lot of takers. So all the very best, both of you.